I will tell you about the state of the art of a European project called MOVING that discusses mountain viticulture and all agriculture in general that happens up in the mountains. We are, as a team, following viticulture, but there are the products such as carob in Crete, honey, cheese, etc. Now, as part of this project, which is a 5-year project and half of it has already elapsed and more, we have studied what is happening in viticulture climbing up the mountains in 3 European areas, the one in Trentino, the province of Trento, then the region of Huesca on the Spanish Pyrenees, and then the Upper Douro in Portugal, the easternmost part of the Douro Valley. Now, quickly, what we noticed that it's not just a matter of bringing viticulture where it didn't exist, but it's like a comeback in places where viticulture was abandoned, most of all for financial reasons, where cultivating vines, especially on the steepest slopes, was very costly, and therefore viticulture was abandoned up until the 1990s. Now, why are these areas interesting again? When we interviewed the growers in these areas, they answered that climate change and the uncertainty of what climate will be like in the coming years, but anyway, expecting heat peaks, higher temperatures, and extended droughts, as well as extreme weather events. So climbing up the mountains means finding areas with lower temperatures and fewer frost risks because the spring cycle is different there. Another reason that promotes an interest in mountain viticulture is that there's a lot of room for planting, also in the form of big plots of land that have a lower cost, where you can start viticulture in an easier way. And also, the pest pressure and the disease pressure is lower. Well, almost. On the other hand, you have lower land costs, but higher running costs, on the other hand, for planting and managing the vineyards. So everything should be factored in. Now, what problems should attract our attention when thinking of a comeback to mountain? You have to ask yourself questions about soil fertility, the quality, and the water availability in these areas, especially in the steepest areas and the highest elevations. I mean, it can be a problem from 9 to 1,000 meters above sea level. You can plant vineyards, but you do have areas at lower elevations, but they are steeper. So the less fertile soil, and this less fertile soil can't really store the water, stock the water, and also the soil is poor in organic matter. In Trentino in particular, we appreciated the soil and its richness in organic matter and mixed viticulture and mixed agriculture. In other words, in Trentino, animal husbandry was the most important source of organic matter that also benefited viticulture. When it comes to water availability, it can be limited by the amount of organic matter and infrastructure.
Portarla di nuovo in acqua.
Then you needed to bring it up again, and that entails a huge cost in secondary infrastructures. And there is also a high degree of competition. Competition for water normally is with the tourist sector, and also for snowmaking purposes at winter time. We talked about pests and diseases. And it is true that pressure in the beginning is lower because there are no specialized sectors so far, but their cycles are also different. And you need, and I'm talking about biological cycles, and you need to know how to grasp them. Possibly it will never become a single farming practice, viticulture in the mountains, but it is interesting anyway. Furthermore, since these areas are not in DOC areas normally, they can pick the varieties they want, and there is a higher freedom in using resistant, strong varieties or local varieties that can grow best in those areas, which are different, though, than those that were there 50 years ago. So you can also work so that you can find the best genetic material for that purpose. Even though we have a good percentage of organic farming in those areas, we have anyway farming activity which is not forest, which is not a natural environment. And these areas have a strong vocation in terms of being natural, so you have to be fairly careful in bringing extra farming practices, which does not rule out the fact that you can, of course, do so, but you have to reason about things. Then there is a possible conflict or synergy with tourist activity. This is still an open issue. I think that there should be a synergy, if I may say so. And then a very last point is relevant for Spain and Portugal, perhaps, and not Trentino, which is the population effect. In that here, in Trentino, we talk about areas that underwent a very strong migration, and I think of farms, for instance, Portugal, which now lack labor. Actually, I'm talking about Portugal and Spain and not Trentino in this case. I correct myself. And if you try and bring that together with tourism, you can have a tragic effect or a very strong effect. In Portugal, you can travel for hours without meeting anybody. It is not easy to bring back people to live in areas where you no longer have infrastructure, schools and hospitals. If you have another option, you simply take the opportunity elsewhere, especially if it is a young family and young people with children, who, on the other hand, we would like to retain in mountain areas. So they are our target group. Anyway. In Trentino, a lot has been done in terms of resistant varieties and new wine type products. We have to rethink things in that respect. I will not, of course, mention every aspect here because I have already mentioned these points. But anyway, one point I would like to bring to your attention, which is the EU certification or definition of mountain product and produce. And I put there the only product I found in Portugal, which I could find with that qualification. So very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you.